going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States, there's absolutely no tariff. We start off with a 2.5% base, which is what we were at, and we go to 25%.
President Donald Trump continuing his aggressive push to boost domestic manufacturing with new tariffs on all cars and car parts imported into the United States. Those taxes are set to go into effect on April 2nd. The president described the introduction of these tariffs as the beginning of Liberation Day in America. About half of cars sold in the U.S. are imported from countries like Mexico, Japan, South Korea, and Canada. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney spoke against the tariffs just hours after Trump made the announcement. Let's listen to what he had to say.
You know, this will hurt us, but through this period, by being together, we will emerge stronger. I think what's happened, and this was part of our discussion, over the course of the last several months, Canadians as a whole across this country have gotten over the shock of the betrayal and are learning the lessons. We have to look out for ourselves, and we have to look out for each other. It would be appropriate that the President and I speak, given the action that he's taken. I'm sure that will happen soon. I'm not going to give you a precise timing on that.
The president hit back early this morning with a post on social media. Trump seemingly threatened even higher tariffs on foreign goods by saying, quote, if the European Union works with Canada in order to do economic harm to the USA, large-scale tariffs far larger than currently planned will be placed on both them in order to protect the best friend that each of those two countries has ever had. CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro is on the ground with the latest. Aaron, good morning to you. Are retaliatory tariffs on some foreign partners still in the realm of possibility for the president right now?
Good morning. And the short answer is yes. And you're just seeing President Trump's tone change, as you mentioned, in this tariff trade war. Earlier, before he put that post out that you mentioned, Trump actually talked about reciprocal tariffs, that he would be, quote, more lenient with it, that he would be more on the somewhat conservative side, so people would be surprised, but that it would begin to be applied to all countries. But he did keep the door open for exceptions, as you're seeing Europe respond, as you're seeing countries like Germany asking the European Union to respond more forcefully. That's where you get the tone from that Truth Social post of President Trump that you just read.
So the White House is also dealing with the fallout of that Signal group chat. I mean, we've been talking about this for so long now. Trump doubled down on dismissing the controversy, calling potential investigations a witch hunt, something he tends to call anything he does not agree with. We're going to play some of that sound, and then we'll talk to you on the other side.
I think it's all a witch hunt, that's all. I think it's a witch hunt. I wasn't involved with it. I wasn't there, but I can tell you the result is unbelievable because the Houthis are looking to do something. They want to know, how do we stop? Can we have peace? The Houthis want peace.
And so, Aaron, just based off of that, do we have a sense on if the president plans to hold anyone accountable for that Signal text chain?
Yeah, yesterday President Trump was asked if he supports the Inspector General looking into the Signal issue, which we just saw this morning is something that congressional leaders of both parties have called him to do. Trump did not oppose that. And this morning, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt did call it, quote, a mistake, and said that National Security Advisor Mike Waltz has taken responsibility while still looking to move past this story. Take a listen to what she had to tell reporters this morning at the White House.
We have never denied that this was a mistake, and the National Security Advisor took responsibility for that. And we have said we are making changes. We are looking into the matter to ensure it can never happen again. But of course, the president has put together a team. Look at the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who was voted in by the United States Senate, putting our warfighters first, making the world a safer place for the American people and for all people, and we're going to stay focused on that.
Now, while Leavitt, President Trump, and Mike Waltz himself have taken responsibility for that, President Trump said yesterday that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had, quote, nothing to do with the Signal chat, despite him being the one to share those details of those missile strikes minutes before they happened.
Okay, Aaron, I also want to ask you about new staffing cuts to federal agencies. What do we know about that?
Yeah, the Trump administration and the HHS plans to cut about 10,000 full-time employees from the Department of Health and Human Services, about a tenth of that workforce there. 2,500 will come from the Food and Drug Administration. 2,400 will come from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The agencies say the reduction will not impact reviewers, inspectors of drugs, medical devices, or food, and that no CDC infectious disease personnel are being cut. But that, combined with the offers for early retirement and the deferred resignation program, means about 20,000 cut from America's health agencies.
Wow, that's a lot of cuts there. Erin Navarro, thank you so much for your reporting today. And we are following market reaction as President Trump announced 25% tariffs on all cars and parts imported. This starts next week, and many are bracing for higher prices for the cost of a car. But one of the largest labor unions in the United States, they say they support it. The United Auto Workers Union says, "We applaud the Trump administration for stepping up to end the free trade disaster that has devastated working class communities for decades. Ending the race to the bottom in the auto industry starts with fixing our broken trade deals." So let's get to CBS News senior business and tech correspondent Ling. Ling, good to see you again today, by the way. How could these tariffs affect the auto industry and consumers too?
Mugo, it's great to see you too. Look, there are, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, a million people in the United States who work in auto production. So this is definitely going to have an effect. You saw the reaction from the UAW here, but we do know that the average cost of a car could increase anywhere between $3,000 and beyond $10,000, depending on the type of car that you buy if these tariffs take hold. 25% across the board if they're manufactured outside of the U.S. and sold here in the U.S. And so what that could mean is it could, with higher prices, mean demand for cars go down because less people can afford to buy the cars that are being manufactured here in the U.S. However, it's important to point out that manufacturing here in the U.S., bringing it back will take time. Yesterday, President Trump in the Oval Office did point to what he says is a new Honda facility that will be established in Indiana, but that won't come for several years. And so the impact on jobs, while likely to have a material impact in the here and now, is also likely to really materialize later on. You also have to remember, as you drive down the road, you see these car dealerships everywhere, right? 2 million people work in and around car dealerships in the United States. Those jobs could also be impacted as well. And so when we look at the overall impact of these tariffs, it's certainly not only going to impact the trade relationships that we have with South Korea and Japan and countries in Europe, as well as Canada and Mexico. We also know that it will impact the way people buy a car, how much used cars could cost. That is likely to go up if these tariffs hold, because if people can't buy a new car, they can't afford it, they're going to increase the demand on used cars. And we know what happened during the pandemic when all of that went down, Mugo.
Yeah, good perspective to have there. I also want to ask you about Social Security. The administration will start clawing back overpayments from recipients, but how do overpayments happen in the first place, and how will this move affect people?
So overpayments in Social Security benefits, Mugo, often happen when it's a miscalculation by the Social Security Administration or a failure to update your current status with the SSA. And so what the U.S. government is now saying is, starting today, any cases of overpayment will result in having up to 100% of your Social Security check clawed back, which means you would not receive up to 100% of your expected payments until the overpayment is resolved. Now, you might remember several years ago, there was a program put into place that allowed for 10% repayment over time. And so people who have that current setup prior to today will continue to have that offered to them when it comes to getting most of their Social Security check with a 10% repayment for overpayments, Mugo.
Okay, Jill and Kent, thank you so much for joining us on the stream today.
Thanks.